This episode was sponsored by our patrons, Blanca Bolea, Kim Hokinson, Siobhan Keenan, Bree Smith, Robin Brown, Bree Alto, Cornelia Weiss, Jan-Elise Cannon, Heather McKinnon, Jamie Lang, Maria Sanchez, Valerie Jacobson, Amanda Gilmore, Jill Harrigan, Chantel Oliver, Michaela Frew, and Caitlin McTaggart. Thank you so much for being our sponsors. We couldn't do it without you. You can become a sponsor for as little as $1 a month to help make more episodes happen and get these episodes ad-free. Hi, Olivia.
Hi, Katie.
Have you ever wanted to bring back a lost era? Like it was the height of humanity?
Yes. If I could have modern medical care, yes.
What would it be?
Can I combine? I want Edwardian fashion and 16th century China's pretty good.
Oh. For some reason, I assumed you'd want to be in a Poirot.
Oh, yeah, probably that too, except people keep getting murdered.
Yeah, but cozy murders.
Yeah.
You know.
Only bad people get murdered. Ancient Egypt, obviously. Minoa. Minoans feels pretty peak civilization.
Minoans. Ooh, that's a good one. Well, today I want to tell you about a woman who believed that humanity's lost Eden was ancient Greece.
Ah.
After living through the horrors of 3 wars in early 20th century Greece, she came to believe that if we could awaken that primordial time, that human spirit, we could sort of reset humanity.
Mm-hmm.
So she made a lifelong attempt, not just to revive ancient Greece, but to live ancient Greece, to be an ancient Greek.
Ah.
And she thought if enough people revived its spirit, then world peace would be restored. She believed it so hard, she poured everything she had into creating a global festival at Delphi in 1927, designed to reawaken the human spirit, establish peace on Earth, and save the world.
Sounds like my kind of gal.
Yeah!
Optimistic, utopian dreams.
Yes! Her name was Eva Palmer Sikelianos. And for me, it's been an amazing month learning about her life and times while living through our current times. I'm very conscious of the horrors of war in her time and in ours. As individuals, we can feel so helpless, which is what makes her story so important. Did you ever hear that story that Mr. Rogers would tell about how whenever there was some disaster in the news?
Look for the helpers.
Yes.
Yes. I have used that policy with my children many times when they were small.
Yeah, I mean, it's such a wonderful perspective. So I'm going to echo that idea, but in history. In any time of war, look for the peacemakers. They are everywhere. They're in every time period, keeping alive that dream of peace. As was Eva Palmer Sikelianos, who created the festival of all festivals in Delphi to restore peace to the world. With the benefit of hindsight, we can see
Didn't work.
it didn't quite work, at least not the way she envisioned. But you know what? It doesn't matter, because this is a story of one woman who gave everything she had to the cause of peace. I'm Katie Nelson.
And I'm Olivia Mickle.
And this is What's Her Name?
Fascinating women you've never heard of.
Come with me to the Benaki Museum in Athens.
I love that place.
Yes! I went there, made possible by the wonderful Jeff Holland,
Yay!
accompanied by wonderful folks from the What'sHerName Greece tour the morning before the tour started. I just love how these tours connect us to people from all over the world.
So, I'm Maria Dimitriadou. I'm the curator of the Historical Archives Department of the Benaki Museum here in Athens, and I welcome you at our department. It's all about the Greek history, political history, literature, music, everything about Greece. And we're going to talk about Eva Palmer Sikelianos.
Eva was born to be a New York Gilded Age socialite.
She was born in New York in 1874. Her parents was a couple of wealthy people, intellectuals. They promoted free thinking and unconventional education. They raised all of their children away from the stereotypes of the time. Her father played the dominant role in Eva's life. He was a very impressive figure, a great personality who combined the qualities of a humanist, an innovator, a modernist educator, an active citizen, an idealist, a man devoted to the concepts of justice. And they accepted different points of view. And that was the foundation of Eva's personality.
She had a very classical education. Greek, Latin, Plato, Aristotle, the art of antiquity. All of this was the height of social class. Everyone who was anyone at the time had a classical education. And she grew into a celebrated beauty, sort of the pre-Raphaelite style. Like long, flowing, lush red hair, porcelain skin, thin ankles, that type.
My favorite.
You and I, both redheads, we were born in the wrong era.
Yep.
Weren't we? And when she went off to the prestigious liberal arts ladies' college Bryn Mawr, she met girls who were as free-thinking as she was. It was in college that she, like so many of us, finally learned about ancient Greece's cultural attitudes towards sex and love. I don't know, maybe the simplest way to put it is it's a much freer sexuality, certainly not what would be today's norms.
Yeah.
I don't know, maybe the simplest way to put it is there are no labels. There is no gay, there's no straight, for example. And the girls at Bryn Mawr read the poetry of the ancient Greek poetess Sappho, who wrote plenty of love poems to women, and they hold up that ancient example like it's a call to liberation. There's a culture of sapphic love, they call it. Sappho was from the island of Lesbos, hence the term lesbians today.
Now, wait a minute. I was informed reliably that lesbians were invented in the 1970s.
I know. Sappho is often called the original lesbian, but I'd say she's maybe just the original one who wrote a lot of stuff.
Wrote it all down.
Survives. Yeah. Actually, not much of her stuff survives. It's like tiny fragments of what would have been hundreds or maybe even thousands of poems. So it still is only the tiniest bit, which makes her extremely controversial. And there's all kinds of speculation about her. We can't really prove anything. But because she's from Lesbos and because she clearly wrote love poems dedicated to women, somehow we have the term lesbians today. But in Eva's world, this is a sort of cult-like secret circle headed by one Natalie Barney, to whom Eva is devoted.
A lot has been written also about her sexual life.
Eva Palmer is caught doing something strictly prohibited on campus. We have no more details than that. And she's suspended for a year.
Must have been big.
And she goes, this place is too backward and constricting. This Gilded Age life of Vanderbilts and calling cards and fancy balls, this is not for me. I'm going to Paris to be truly free. And Natalie Barney goes too. I wish Natalie and Eva were a charming love match. But instead, it seems like Natalie was the sort of person who collected conquests and really enjoyed controlling people. She had interesting beliefs. Masculinity was power in her mind, and that was the good way to be. Femininity, softness, was weak, unthinking, and bad. So she constantly berates Eva for her femininity and for her passiveness. She's also just extremely classist. She believes only wealthy, educated people matter. There's so much we could say, but I guess here's one telling little detail. Natalie Barney once told Eva's mother, "The only way to treat Eva is like a dog." In Paris, a similar sapphic circle is formed of women seeking liberation, and this is right at the turn of the 20th century. There's all kinds of love triangles, and these women include some of the icons of turn-of-the-century Paris. For example, there is one Mata Hari from our episode The Butterfly in the Sun. There's Sarah Bernhardt, the famous actress, Colette, the famous writer, and Isadora Duncan, the mother of modern dance.
Yep.
Amazing. More than 100 years ago, they were advocating for polyamory and personal liberation in a way that reads very much like you might encounter today. But for Eva, it wasn't the way. It took her years, but as she grew, she developed her own personal motto.
Eva Palmer had a motto in her mind. The motto was, listen to everyone, read everything, accept only what seems true to you personally.
By 1906, she told Natalie Barney that she was worn out from trying to be what Natalie wanted her to be. In her words, Eva said she was trying to squeeze herself into an ill-fitting pair of high-heeled shoes. I love that. A very feminine metaphor.
That's interesting.
Something all women understand. Eva decides to embrace her feminine, passive, soft self.
She never treated people like she was better than them because she was wealthy and the other weren't. I think that she was born and raised that all people are equal, and that was something that she managed to keep all through her life. She stayed true to that belief.
And then, one day, Isadora Duncan says, "Eva, I'd like you to meet my brother Raymond and his wife, Penelope Sikelianos." So Raymond Duncan is Isadora Duncan's brother, and Penelope is Greek. Instant connection for Eva. These two were some eccentric kindred spirits.
They all are inspired by the maxim that everyone should produce what they need or need only what they can produce. That was what Raymond thought. And on the same wavelength was his sister Isadora, who said that art, and especially dance, should be oriented more towards ancient Greek standards, namely freedom but also naturalness. Eva gradually embraces these ideas, and together they search for the revival, in their view always, of ancient Greek's life and everyday life.
They become fascinated with clothing as an eccentric group. Clothing, they say, is an expression of our identity. And they're wondering, what were ancient Greek clothes really like? Our only source of information is stone. Ancient artists who masterfully set the folds of drapey fabric into stone on statues. And they're like, what, were clothes really like that? And how could you get clothing to drape like that? What would it feel like to wear it? Could we reverse engineer the stone of the sculptor and bring back the softness of ancient Greek robes? This is, I think, an active pursuit of softness in the face of Natalie Barney's insistence on hard, aggressive maleness.
And turn-of-the-century clothing is so highly gendered and so, binary,
Yes.
sort of bipolar. What is male and what is female, and there's nothing in between. And Greek is much more...
the Greeks are wearing robes.
Yeah, they're all wearing the same thing.
Everybody's wearing robes.
Eva, relying on Raymond's carpentry skills, they try and they built a loom. And with this loom, they began weaving, and they managed to have a fabric that they believed that resembled ancient Greek clothing, and they wear it.
They have a loom. They go to Greece. The Duncans are partway through constructing a replica of King Agamemnon's palace outside of Athens. The project had stalled because they ran out of money. So off Eva goes to live with them in their unfinished palace. She's starting to get a hang of the weaving. She's teaching herself to spin, and she's got a few Greek robes that she made that she wears around. No more corsets, no more hardness of any kind. She's a shy type. She hates attention. She rarely goes out. But one day, she walked into Athens to withdraw some money from the bank in her robes. And she's attracted this crowd of gawkers. They couldn't get over it. She hated the attention. But somehow, just from that one walk to the bank and back home, word got all the way back to her mom in New York.
Oh, no.
And her mom sent a reprimand. She said in this letter, "You must be original, and you have been. But why not try to reason with yourself that you are hurting others when you drive your eccentricities to extremity?" She's like, "Stop embarrassing me over there in Greece. Be original, but not that original." But nothing else matters the moment she meets Penelope's brother, Angelos, a Greek Adonis, a smoldering poet, a dreamer, a genius, and a proven womanizer. He's 21 years old, while she's 32.
In 1906, Eva first met Angelos Sikelianos and wrote, "From then on, he became the focus of every thought in my life." She was fascinated by him as a man, but also by his spirit. It was his vision. He thought that he could create a spiritual novel of the earth.
A spiritual rebirth.
In Delphi, where all people of the spirit, the arts, the science, from all parts of the world could unite, could cooperate, and they focused to achieve the spiritual and mental brotherhood of people. That was the Delphic idea. That was the idea that Sikelianos passed to Eva. Eva was fascinated, but we know that he said to her that, "I don't want you to marry me now because I'm thinking that I might do something bad that you won't be so happy when you learn it." But Eva was decided to marry Sikelianos. It's her adoration of a man. It happens very often. I think that happens all the time, all over the world.
Yes.
It's not love, it's more than that. And we think it's someone that is no way he can be wrong. It's a passion, I think.
She took him to Paris to meet her circle of friends, including Natalie Barney. And guess what Natalie did?
Tried to steal him.
Almost. Tried to drive him away. First, though, she snidely mocked Eva's handmade flowing robes. Clothing has nothing to do with real freedom, she said. So, Eva changed into normal clothes to formally introduce Angelos to Natalie. And Natalie then busts out an old love letter from Eva and showed it to Angelos and told him that Eva had sworn that she was always Natalie's true love forever, devastated him, drove him away, and then she sent Eva flowers to try to lure her back.
Yep.
Eva said she thought she wouldn't get Angelos out of Paris alive. He was suicidal. But she managed to get him out. They went to the U.S. to meet her family and to get married at Bar Harbor, Maine, as a good Gilded Age girl should. Disembarking from the ship, she made headlines.
August 25th, 1907. American heiress and celebrated beauty Eva Palmer has returned to America, accompanied by her beau, an ancient Greek philosopher. Miss Palmer's Greek-clad appearance turned heads aboard the passenger ship La Lorraine. Her loose tunic draped artistically proved startling in the breeze, and her sandaled feet added to the gaiety of the voyage for the other passengers. Beautiful, statuesque girl, heroine of 2 social continents. A cool and comfortable Miss Palmer created a sensation today on Fifth Avenue, tripping up the awe-struck thoroughfare in undeniably bare ankles, with nothing but a Roman toga for a dress, and no hat on her head, arms bare to the loosely draped shoulders. Is she advocating for a cult? Miss Eva Palmer advocates for the abolition of lingerie of all kinds, proving she is rich enough to do as she likes. September 9th, 1907. A most unexpected and unannounced wedding at Bar Harbor. We hear that the ceremony was conducted in French by an Episcopalian minister, the bride dressed in a tunic and sandals. Her hair, which reaches to the floor, was loosely braided and crowned with a Greek fillet. The bridegroom appeared in native costume.
Yeah, Gilded Age heiresses are supposed to marry British aristocracy, not Greek 21-year-olds.
Exactly. She got married, and she bid America and her fame farewell. She sailed for Greece, expecting never to return again. She left behind all her Western-style dresses.
Wow.
For the rest of her life, she will dress like an ancient Greek, wearing only the draping robes she has woven herself and sandals she has handmade herself. The Eva who got shamed into wearing or being what society told her to be, or even wearing or being what her rebel peers told her to be, was gone. Eva is now herself.
Yay.
This is Eva in young age.
Oh.
This is Eva. This is in Boston. This is in the US.
So many.
Yes, there are many. Let me see if I can find someone. There's a big archive, Eva. You should see how Angelos is also.
Oh, yes.
Why he was so...
Yes, a moody genius.
Yes.
That's exactly what he looks like.
And Eva. Hold on, this is lap, I think. Okay. This is Eva. Also.
Wow.
Eva.
She dressed like this all the time?
Yes.
All the time. Wow.
And this is a very well-known photo of them.
Wow.
As an American who dresses Greek in Greece, while Greek women are dressing French, Eva is inevitably asking, what does it mean to be Greek? Eva's bringing her classical education to this question. She knows more about ancient Greece than most Greeks, while Angelos is bringing his poetic genius and political activism to this question. Greece is riddled with conflict, almost nonstop. World War I, dismantles the Ottoman Empire, leading to the Balkan Wars, and Angelos enlisted when war came to Greece. That led to a horrific conflict between Greeks and Turks. 18,000 refugees are pouring into Greece. And Eva and Angelos, they're both working to house refugees, building shelters and settlements, working to feed them, like boots on the ground, trying to help these people. Everything touching the Aegean Sea used to be ancient Greece, but now it's splitting into two very different countries. What makes a Greek Greek, and what makes a Turk Turkish? Has Greece been too colonized by the West, or has it been too colonized by the East? What is true Greekness? And there's so much hate wrapped up in this question. For Eva, the answer lies in music. She says, true ancient Greek music is of the Byzantine style. And the Byzantine is the East, now Turkey. And she believes Greece has been too westernized. This music, Byzantine music, totally different scales, completely different way of organizing sound. So she goes to study music at the Athens Conservatory and becomes a master of Byzantine music.
Wow.
Amazing. How do we get people to pay attention to this, she says. She thinks if we can revive this music of the soul, of the true Greek past, it will unify Greeks and Turks. And, it will revive the true spirit of Greece. So she decides what we need is an organ to rival organ music of churches in the West. But we need an organ tuned to Byzantine modes.
Oh, cool.
So she sets out to create it.
I want that.
I know, I want to hear it.
Sounds amazing.
She's going to bring back the sound of the ages. In 1924, she launches her organ. She sends word across Europe and America to all the newspapers. This will change the world, she says. Here's the actual quote. This organ is my contribution to the cause of peace and understanding in the world.
Well, and that's a time-honored belief that music is the way to breach the gap. Music is the way to communicate when you can't communicate.
Right. It is the language of the soul. Nobody came, and nobody cared.
Oh. Well, I would have gone.
Oh. The organ was even named after her, an Evian panharmonium, microtonal organ. It had intervals smaller than a half step, and it no longer exists. But it could also just be timing. She released her organ in 1924, and from 1921 to 1924, Greece was engaged in a brutal civil war. It's devastating, horrific. People aren't just dying in battles and in massacres. They're starving. I mean, it's a tragedy. They call it the Asia Minor catastrophe. She and Angelos had been working and fighting in the heart of it all. And then she's like, okay, the organ will get us out of it. Music is the key. And it didn't work. Angelos sinks into a deep despair. The modern world has failed. Civilization is in collapse. The world is untethered. And Eva says, what about that Delphic ideal you had? You already know what the world needs: connection.
The most essential problem is how to connect people. To find the link between what they say and what they feel, it's very difficult. And that is what we should seek, to find this connection.
Angelos is like, yes, that's my dream, but the world is untethered. No one will listen. It won't work. And Eva says, let's make it work. I will dedicate my heart and soul to this cause.
What ultimately has such power and what Sikelianos knows is art, and more specifically ancient drama. From this point on, the adventure of organizing the Delphic festivals to connect the ancient Greek past with a modern present begins.
Eva's question used to be, what does it mean to be Greek? But now it has been broken open to an even bigger question. What does it mean to be human? How can we reconnect ourselves to our divine source?
A public spectacle based on an ancient Greek tragedy. That was the point. Sikelianos was not thinking only of a theatrical performance, but also of athletic games and festivals, unifying elements for the people, elements which can raise their strength and morale after a disaster, after a catastrophe that brought in Greece over 1 million refugees. The games, like the festival, would stay away from any commercialization, and the point was to connect young people with their distant past. The best singers would be there, the best instrumentalists would be present, and would bring the joy that was missing from the Greeks.
And Eva says, okay, well, if Delphi is the goal, let's move to Delphi. And with all her own money, Angelos has nothing. With all her own money, she builds a house on a hill very near the ancient temple site.
Eva begins to bring back to consciousness ideas such as democracy, equality, the relationship between the divine and the human.
Not only is she going to bring together all the greatest minds in folk arts, music, handicrafts, dance, theater, but she wants to stage the whole event at the sacred ancient temple site at Delphi. She wants to stage an authentic ancient Greek performance of Prometheus Bound in the theater there.
Wow.
And in 1925, she and Angelos make this big announcement. The Delphic Festival would happen in 2 years. We've got 2 years to get everything ready. And it wasn't just the logistics of all the artists and the actors and the costumes and the music.
Yeah.
So she comes into contact with a number of important people in Greece, like Angeliki Hadjimichali. She was an archaeologist and historian who's in her knowledge Eva trusted for the successful organization of the folk handicraft exhibition. It's very famous, Angeliki Hadjimichali. Also the painter Yannis Tsarouchis, who made all the scenography. Byzantine music was Konstantin Psachos and many other important Greeks of that time. At the same time, we must make clear that Eva was the main financier of Sikelianos' inspired vision.
Personally.
Yeah.
The conditions were now ripe for the connection of the glorious ancient Greek past with a gloomy and difficult present. It was the right time for the Greek people themselves to regain their faith and their admiration to the nation. It's the era that also other people in Greece, people of letters, tried to approach and shape the way, what would be the relation between them and the ancient Greek past. The first approach was a way of reconciliation between the past and the present. This presupposes that the archaeological treatment of the past as a monument that cannot be of use or serve right now. And the second way was to treat the past as a living present. That was the way that Eva and Sikelianos decided to follow. Costumes, set designs, music, hospitality for all the people that wanted to go to Delphi. It was not easy. No roads, no rails, and of course, no hotels. So it was a very tricky thing.
They have to find a way for thousands of people to get to Delphi and to be able to stay there. Do you remember what it was like?
It's very, it's difficult now to get there.
Yes.
Let alone. Wow.
Now you can get there on a very tight road to the top of a mountain. And hotels now abound on the, 3 streets of Delphi.
Yeah, I was going to say.
Yeah. But back then, it was nothing like that.
The people, how they would go there.
Wow.
Where they would stay, what they would eat, who will expect them.
So Eva chartered a ship.
Paid a ship from Piraeus to travel to Itea. Itea is the nearest port to Delphi. For someone, if they couldn't find place to stay the night, to stay on board. And all these expenses were made by Eva. The journalists, they were not all in favor of Sikelianos' idea. There were papers that they wrote, what is he doing? How are we going to go there? Why is he doing that? But Eva managed to change their mind through her money.
She could move mountains with persistence, her organizational skills, and her money.
Her money.
She poured her fortune into the cause. And, if you were convinced civilization hung by a thread, and that you could save humanity through this one grand, almost magical act to revive the primordial unity of humanity, it doesn't matter what it costs, right?
And Delphi is magical. I can see why.
Yes.
If there's a place that you believe could do it.
Do it. You're so right. And all you have to do is stand there for, a couple hours. You'll be like, I get it. So now, not only is music going to save the world, but it's going to be music, art, handicrafts, creation, theater. She's going to combine all those forces of creation into one magic moment at one magic place and revive peace on earth. This production of Prometheus Bound, which is this famous tragedy by Aeschylus, it's going to involve postures. The actors in the chorus will make postures with their bodies based on ancient Greek vases. It'll involve lost Byzantine music, authentic masks, which actors used to wear in ancient Greek theater, costumes will be woven by hand by Eva herself. We're talking hundreds of hand-woven costumes. And over all these years, Eva has perfected her weaving. She's figured it out. She solved the riddle of the drape of the fabric on statues, how to pull that off in real life. What she does is she has a fine silk weft thread. So that's the thread that's carried by the shuttle. Across heavy white wool warp thread. So that's the thread that's stretched over the loom. Heavy white wool on the loom, fine silk woven across it.
Wow.
Row by row, bringing the past back to life.
Fine silk would take you 1,000 hours.
I know.
Per row.
An eternity. I can't even stand to knit with normal size yarn. I have to use chunky yarn and big knitting needles because I'm so impatient. incredible. And all of that to achieve the drape and the weight, the flow of the fabric as seen in ancient statues.
Yeah.
And then, May 9th, 1927, the Delphic Festival begins!
Yay!
Thousands come. The arts and music thrive. I mean, it is pure magic. The production of Prometheus Bound was not only photographed in detail in 1927, but it was filmed in 1927. We still have the film.
Wow.
Well, and when I say we, I mean Maria at the
Wow.
Benaki Museum has the film and all the photos and the costumes and all kinds of stuff connected to this event.
This is Delphic Fests.
Oh my
This
gosh.
is Prometheus Bound.
Someone filmed it, right?
Yes.
Amazing.
Gaziadis. Thank God.
Wow. Oh my gosh.
This and this. This is Angelos and Eva.
You said this one's famous.
Yes,
right,
it's
of them?
very used. Okay, and this is Delphic Fests.
Over the course of this 2-day festival, this event will, here's in their words, join everyone in one single emotion which will reverberate across the world. The primordial unity of humanity will be reborn. It was a huge success. Papers across the world reported on the incredible event at Delphi.
Oh.
So, Eva's effort was successful.
But did it change the world? Not yet. Maybe not yet. Let's do it again in 1930. And this time, it'll be even bigger with more funding and more support and awareness from people around the world. It'll be really powerful. So they plunge head first again.
Although I think that she knew or she could imagine after a while that would be an economical disaster for her.
And as it turned out, the 1930 festival was worse than 1927. Funding was not forthcoming at all from the Greek government or anybody else. And Eva spent every last penny on the festival. Literally, she spent every penny she had. She's now penniless. It's the 1930s.
Yeah.
Global economic depression. Greece was already poverty-stricken and war-torn before that. All this might be overcome, except Angelos has found another woman.
When Sikelianos left her, that was devastating for her. She had invested on Sikelianos as a person. But he was married again to another younger woman.
Heartbroken, fortune gone. World peace not reborn at Delphi. She returns to America with nothing.
What she took back was not the same, I think.
She literally has nowhere to stay. She's mortgaged her houses in Athens and Delphi, and they were foreclosed. Like, what can she do? She has, over the years, taught many women how to weave. And some of them, who were Americans, have even built a pretty successful business out of it. So she goes to work for her friends in exchange for room and board. She lives in quiet isolation, weaving and weaving and weaving for 10 years. She never stopped loving Angelos, and she's always looking for news of him, but they've lost contact. This is very Penelope from the Odyssey.
Yeah.
Weaving and weaving for years, waiting for her man. Fascism is on the rise in Europe.
Mm.
Italy invades Greece, and 2 times the Greeks make this heroic stand and drive the Italians out. And Eva's friends shower her with letters saying things like, "Aren't you proud of your Greeks?" Things like that. But when the Germans invade, Greece has no resources left. The Nazis occupy Greece, and all this time, Eva doesn't know what's happened to Angelos. But as it turns out, 1943 was his finest hour. It was the act that cemented his fame in the hearts of all Greeks. And since Eva subscribed to Greek newspapers, she heard about it. At the state funeral of a famous Greek poet, in the presence of the Nazi occupiers, Angelos Sikelianos gave a rousing, defiant speech.
He decided to confront the Nazi troops in the funeral of Kostis Palamas, a great poet of Greeks, when in the funeral and in front of the Germans, he said that the bells must start singing and sing for the freedom.
He ended with, "Long live Greece, long live freedom."
And then they killed him.
They didn't. He lived.
Oh, yay!
I can hardly believe it.
Wow.
So immediately Eva is jolted into action. She translates his speech into English to publish in America to try to rouse support for Greece. She sends literally hundreds, if not thousands of letters to every politician, every newspaper, every donor, every publisher. I mean, these are like all the influential people she knows, from Eleanor Roosevelt to W.E.B. Du Bois, even like Ravi Shankar, the East Indian musician. I mean, everybody.
Eva she was born American, but I think that her soul was Greek. Because the philosophy, the way of living, she loved Greek people. She supported Greeks with all her heart, even though she was in the USA through the war. She gave whatever she had. That's why I say that her soul might be Greek.
Nothing worked.
Aww.
After World War II ends, Greece sinks into another horrific civil war from 1946 to 1949. I mean, millions die, millions leave. And then, 1950, the king is back on the throne of Greece. Not the outcome that Angelos nor Eva would have supported. But the king is looking to rebuild Greece. And he declares a homecoming year. He wants to call all the Greeks back home. And he asks Eva and Angelos to revive the Delphic festival for the occasion. Angelos agrees immediately. Eva is reluctant, but eventually she comes around. The plan is to aim for 1952 and another staging of Prometheus Bound at Delphi. But in December 1951, news arrives that Angelos has died quite suddenly and quite horribly. He was ill and sent his maid to the pharmacy for a bottle of medicine like mineral oil. She bought the wrong bottle and he drank disinfectant instead and died a horrific death. Eva canceled the Delphic festival, saying there's no way she could do it without Angelos. You know, she's truly devastated. But then she changed her mind. Maybe she sensed that her time was coming as well. She was 77 years old at this point.
He returned to die here in Greece. She went to Delphi. The people there hold her in their arms and their shoulders.
She was determined to see all 4 productions of Prometheus Bound. And she did. And after the final performance, she went to bed, and in the night, she had a massive stroke.
Wow.
Greeks turned out by the thousands to honor her, both in Athens and in Delphi, where she was buried.
She was a very important person for Greece.
And they had this special Byzantine dirge sung at her funeral. And they placed a pomegranate in one hand and a sheaf of wheat in the other.
Oh.
Symbols of the ancient Greek underworld and Christian resurrection. The last rites were given by a Greek Orthodox priest. And also, someone placed a gold coin under her tongue for the ferryman in ancient Greek style.
Wow. "2027 will mark the 100-year anniversary of the first Delphic festival.
And now we are trying at the Benaki to do an exhibition about Delphic Fest.
Special exhibition of all their Eva Sikelianos artifacts.
Oh, cool.
All the archive from Eva, from Angelos, the costumes.
Costumes and photos from the festival in this big celebration of the centennial of the Delphic festival.
Awesome.
And we must find the money to do so because there's no Eva anymore.
You need to find another American
we need to find
who's
someone
inherited
American
some fortune.
or Greek.
Yeah.
Yes. Then we definitely do the exhibition.
Wealthy heiresses listening to this episode.
Please step forward.
Now is your moment.
Just what a life to, she really believed in the power of the arts.
Yeah.
She poured everything she had into peace. And she's one of millions who have done so. I love her story because so often in history, we hear the stories of people who had this huge dream and succeeded.
Yeah.
And there are millions and millions of people who had this huge dream and failed. But it could be that her story isn't over yet, especially that there's going to be this centennial celebration.
Yeah.
It's a pattern that we see a lot in history, that the act maybe didn't succeed, but the story of the attempt becomes incredibly impactful and powerful.
Yeah. Several centuries after you died, and you didn't ever get to know.
Maybe the story of their dream is going to be the thing that unifies people in the future. Special thanks to Maria Dimitriadou at the Benaki Museum Historical Archives Department in Athens. This episode was made possible by Jeff Holland and recorded on site by Christine Adler. Also in attendance were Ross, Barbara, Kaliska, Robin, Jake, Marion, and Sarah on the What'sHerName Greece tour. If you want to learn more about Eva Palmer Sikelianos, there's a great new biography of her, A Life in Ruins by Artemis Leontis, who did a lot of her research at the Benaki Museum with Maria. Newsreels were read by James Henderson. Music for this episode was generously shared by the Mini Vandals, Dana Boule, Jesse Gallagher, Emmit Fenn, and a number of pieces from the National Jukebox at the Library of Congress. You can find links to the music, the book, and see photos from the Benaki Museum archives at What'sHerNamePodcast.com. Thank you for donating. Thanks for listening.